Good morning. I'm Angela Brown, and I'm here with the legendary, wise, and wonderful sage Omuugn. We are reading from the insights and wisdom of Omuugn, and today we're talking about courage. So please help me welcome Omuugn. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
We had a situation this last week where there was an elderly woman whose dog had peed on the floor, and she became completely helpless. Like, I can't bend over, I can't clean this up. And in order to help her maintain her independence longer, we were able to get her one of those sweepers that has the spray on it. So we were able to get her set up where she could stand there and she could use the sweeper to wipe that up without just her giving up, saying, "Oh, I just can't do this anymore." We were able to say, "Hey, look, check it out. Yes, you can. There's a new tool that will allow you to do it." Having the courage to share information with somebody like that in a particular way that then allows them to have their independence a little bit longer, I also think is key.
Yeah, the day we live in is a wonderful day. There's so many new products and gadgets and things that are available. It does help. There are other physical things like you can have a challenging relationship.
Mm.
Sometimes there are generation gaps, and we don't know how to bridge those, or we're actually afraid to interact with people in the way that we might offend them or create a greater gap between the age groups. So we need to be brave and courageous in our relationships where we're willing to sit down with people and communicate well and maybe develop some of the other skills that we've talked about. Identify things in your physical world where you are afraid. Sometimes we're afraid to see the things we're afraid of.
Mm.
And so we have a tendency to push them to the back burner. There's a dividing line between, for example, a fear of heights and being sensible. You don't need to walk right up to the edge of a cliff or lean over a high balcony to prove that you're brave or that you're courageous. Common sense tells us to stay on the safe side. Sometimes our fears are self created. And if we just look at things differently, it's a way of pushing our courage to the forefront that are helpful people as they get old. If they would look at life from a different perspective and realize that people are trying to help them and that they need to be courageous enough to change their attitude and to look at things differently.
I think what you're talking about is not exclusive to old age. Asking for help is one of the hardest things that I personally have ever dealt with. I'm not one to ask for help. I'm fiercely independent and I'm really stubborn. And so if somebody tries to help me, I'm like, no, I got this. I'm going to do it my way. Back in the late 1990s, I got married and I married an abusive alcoholic. When he was sober, he was an amazing person. And when he was drunk, it was a very dangerous situation. I remember saying to myself, I deserve better than this. To be this afraid on a regular basis is not healthy. And so if it happens one more time, I'm going to leave. I packed a gym bag and I put it inside my car. And I said to my husband, one more time of this abusive behavior, and I'm out of here. I will not stay. I made a commitment to myself, and it was one of the most courageous things that I ever had to do because I grew up not believing that you could walk away from a marriage. For one night, my husband came home incredibly drunk and violent, and I literally went out and I got in my car and I drove across the street. That's as far as I made it. I sat there and I was like, I have nowhere to go and I have no money. I don't know what the next steps are. As I sat there in the car, I said, who is the last person in the world that I could hang out with that my husband would come looking for me? He had this aunt that he wasn't very fond of. And I said, I'll call her. So I called her. She picked me up with her husband, and her husband drove my car back. I stayed with her until I was able to get an apartment and move out on my own and start my life all over again. It was one of the most courageous things that I'd ever done because I wasn't accustomed to asking for help. I knew that in this one moment, in order for me to survive, I had to reach down inside myself and do the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done, which is ask someone else for help. So when you say there are people as they're aging and they don't know how to ask for help, I think that actually goes through all different age demographics, where at any level there can be somebody who needs help, but they don't know how to ask for help, or they're not comfortable doing it, or it's not part of who they are.
That's a good point. It does apply to everyone across the board. People want to feel independent. As you get older, you tend to get weaker unless you're on a really good physical exercise program. You do need to start asking people to help. We need to learn to ask for help.
I really appreciate you delving into that because I feel like we covered a lot of ideas. And I think as we look at courage moving forward, we might look at it from a different perspective and certainly with more of an open mind. For those of you that are just joining us, this is from the Insights and Wisdom of Omuugn. This is volume one of volume two. Both volumes are available now online. Get your copy and join us next week as we unpack more insights and wisdom of Omuugn with Omuugn himself. Thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll see you same time, same place next week.